In my opinion, there are 3 things that you need to do if you want to survive life here in Italy. They're not your usual aspects, learn the language, mix with the locals, all of that stuff. I've spoken about those before. These dive a little bit deeper into the things that sometimes we don't really consider or pay much attention to, but make a big difference to how you can survive life here in Italy. The first thing you need to do is to open your eyes. It can be really easy to believe that Italy is this perfect, picturesque country, quite simply because it's so often romanticised in films and in books. But the reality is that people don't sit around sipping wine all day. There are difficulties here and there are challenges that this country faces. Let's take Palermo, for example, the city I've been living in since the end of July. This is Palermo with its beautiful touristical spots and historical streets and pretty parks. But then this is also Palermo with the rubbish and with the streets that are a complete mess. This is where the locals live. And I've become accustomed to seeing rubbish spewed out all across the streets every single day. It's become the norm for me now, when it clearly shouldn't be. But this is real Italy. And this is my point. If you don't spend enough time living here, you don't get to see the real aspects of the country. You see the pretty parts that the tourists spend their time in. It's really important that if you want to survive life here, you open your eyes to all aspects of how it is here. The difficulties that people face, the work situation, the cleanliness of the city, the crime rates. You need to pay attention to everything. Because if you don't, your experience here will be that much tougher because you have come here believing that Italy is this perfect country. Stay away from the heavily edited images on Instagram and the people that want to tell you that life here is a peach. Because yes, there are many positive aspects, but there are also many negative aspects to life here. It's always a balance. And I'm very real on this channel, and I have spoken to you about many different aspects of life here in Italy. In fact, in this video up here, I talk about what real Italy is like, because guess what? Even Salerno wasn't perfect. The city that I spent 4 years of my life here living in had its flaws as well. Sure, you had the pretty lungomare and the touristical parts that were always kept in pristine condition, but then if you moved out into the areas where the locals actually lived, you would find people sleeping on the streets. You would find derelict buildings that people had started to live in. It's literally that as a life, okay? And so no city here in Italy, in my opinion, is perfect. And so you need to have your eyes open and you need to come here and understand that life here in Italy is real. It's as real as it is in any other country around the world. And I think you can do yourself a lot of favors by being realistic in regards to your expectations before you move here. The second thing I think you need to do is to have strength of mind. This is something that will help you to navigate the many challenges that life here in Italy can bring you. There is a word that I have heard continuously since I moved to Palermo in the summer, and that is pazienza. Pazienza, pazienza to everything. Now, I spoke about this in one of my other videos recently where I said that I understand the positive qualities of using such a word, which quite literally translates to mean patience. But unfortunately, I feel that it is used too often in a passive way to indicate that there isn't anything that somebody can do about a situation, or there isn't anything they are willing to do about a situation. Now, there are many aspects of life that we cannot change, many external situations that we have no control over. But there are many aspects of your personal life that you can control and you can change if you're willing to do the work. And I think one thing you have to have here in Italy is strength of mind to be willing to do that, to not buy into the negative beliefs of other people. If you plan to move to Italy and you put this comment in any of the expat groups that you can find on Facebook, for sure you will be met with a barrage of criticism, a barrage of negativity, people telling you what a bad decision it is and are you sure you're ready? Those people, unfortunately, are unable to objectively give you an opinion without influencing you through their own experiences. But too many people listen to that. Too many people don't have the strength of mind to realise that you can create your own path. Let's take myself as a case study. I moved here not speaking Italian. Now my understanding of Italian is a lot better. Stay attento if you speak in Italian around me because I'm sure I understand you. but my spoken level of Italian is still embarrassingly low. So this is where I'm at the moment, 4 years of living in this country. However, I've been able to do some crazy things. I have worked since the moment I stepped off the plane. Yes, I'm going to hear people say it's because you speak English, it's because you're qualified, it's because you can do this job. But there are many people who come here who are expats who say they can't find work. So that's not entirely true. It's just the fact that I was proactive and I sent emails and I put myself out there and created opportunities for myself. Part one. Part two, I actually have extracts from my book as a permanent street art piece in the streets of Palermo. I should be the last person in the world who has that happen to them because I'm not Italian. I don't originate from this country. I don't properly speak the language. There are so many things that are going against me and are not in my favour, yet I've managed to create these incredible opportunities for myself quite simply because I've had the strength of mind to do it. So this is my personal example to you, because I think too many people give up. Too many people listen to what other people tell them. Too many people buy into what everybody else does in their lives and in their society and what's going on around them. But your life doesn't have to be the same. Like, I'm in this period now where I am navigating the importance of abundance. And you know, my latest video up here literally blew up on YouTube. It's probably one of my best performing videos recently. And it's quite simply because I've understood now what true abundance is. And I've had this battle between time and money. And even so, it's still something that I'm navigating. But I've come to understand that, you know, you can't buy time. And it doesn't matter, you can have hundreds and thousands of euros in the bank, but if you're not spending your time in a quality way, there's no point to it. And sometimes, you know, you can live in a culture like I do here in the south of Italy, where people place such importance on work and they place such importance on having a job. And, you know, people will put up with conditions that, quite frankly, should never exist in 2022, just because they need to provide for their families. But they don't necessarily see a different way. They don't necessarily see how they can create a different existence for themselves. That doesn't mean they have to sell their soul in order to survive. And I think this is the point where you have to have a strength of mind to see things differently, because you can live in a place like I do now, where I look around and I see so many people living lives that they don't simply deserve to live. And it's so easy to get sucked into that and to give up and to think, oh my goodness, my life's going to be exactly the same. I should put up with the job I don't enjoy, or I should put up with the fact that I don't see the people I love because I'm working so much. And, you know, it's important that I just have the money and live in this way. But sometimes you have to look at it and be like, but that's not what I want. That's not what I know is important in life. And just because everybody else around me lives in this way, it doesn't mean that I have to do the same thing. And so you have to have strength of mind, not just for work, because trust me, work is a big deal here in Italy, and it's probably the biggest thing that will challenge you if you choose to work here, is to adapt to the conditions here and to the way of life here, because it's tough. There's that. But you have to have strength of mind to deal with bureaucracy, to deal with day-to-day situations, and to know that ultimately you create your own life. Like, literally, please don't buy into everybody else's beliefs and behavior patterns. I guess the thing you have to ask yourself always is, do I want my life to look like that? Because if you don't, then you've got to do something about it, and you've got to change, and it requires strength of mind to do that, especially when you are in a country that's not your own and people have differing opinions about the way that you should live your life. It kind of ties nicely into my third point, really. My third point is that you mustn't lose yourself. And this is like the icing on the cake. It rounds up these three aspects really nicely, because I've moved here from London and I have a particular mindset. I'm very strong in my mind in terms of the opportunities that I create for myself and the life that I want to create for myself. And some people might consider me to be a dreamer, not realistic. You know, I've come here and I have this grandiose idea of the way life should be, and they don't necessarily agree with it. But let me tell you, my life is like a storybook. Like, every opportunity that I've ever had in my life, every experience, I've created that myself. And I've done things that people didn't think were possible. And that's because I've had the strength of mind and I've opened my eyes to all of the ways of life and the different aspects that life brings. And I guess the thing I can say to you is that when you live here in Italy, the only way to survive is to stay true to you always. You're going to think differently to the people around you. I think I understand more so now, especially the north and south divide that people talk about here in Italy. And in many ways, even though I've spent just a minuscule amount of time in the north, like literally just a couple of days, I could immediately see the difference. And it reminded me a lot more of life in London compared to living here in the south. And you know, there are differences, quality of contracts, pay, just infrastructure, everything is different in the north. But essentially in the south you have the warmth, the community, the love, which is what is lacking in the north, and in a way is what is lacking in London, which is the reason I think why I've been so drawn to living in the south, even though it's completely different to what I'm used to. But I think the important thing is you don't lose yourself. I can live here in the south of Italy, but I have to always be true to who I am. I want to create opportunities for myself. I want to do the crazy things that everybody tells you can't do. I want to write my second book, which I've just started, by the way. Of course, it's about life in Italy. It had to be at this point. And I can't wait to share more with you about that as my book progresses. But I'm doing all the things that people will just want to tell you are not possible. And I'm breaking those boundaries, and I'm creating the life I want to create for myself, even though people around me have a very different viewpoint of how life is and how life should be. I will never be the person that doesn't work. I will never be the person that will stay at home and let my boyfriend do the work for me. I'm not that person. It's not my culture. I'm very independent, and I will always be that way. And I think, you know, this is the important thing. This is how you survive living in Italy. This is how you survive living in any other country. You don't lose yourself. You don't lose yourself to the culture around you. You take from it the positive aspects. You grow and evolve in the way that can help you, but you don't lose yourself. Okay, and if I could say one thing out of all of the points I've mentioned in this video, this is the most important. Don't lose yourself when you move to Italy. Stay true to yourself always. Grow, evolve, adapt, be open-minded. Being open-minded is the key to anything, but don't lose your beliefs and your strength and your culture. Don't lose yourself, because trust me, no country is ever worth that experience.